Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Brokos. You may know me as the host, one of the hosts of the Thinking Poker podcast, the author of the Thinking Poker blog. And what you are about to see is over an hour of really high quality, free tournament poker strategy. I'm going to be joined by my good friend Carlos Welch. Some of you may know him as the semi-homeless poker player from Twitch. Really a fantastic guy, fantastic student of the game, fantastic poker player, and just all around entertaining to talk to. So we've got some real high quality stuff coming up. I just briefly want to let you know why it's out here and how you can support more content like this and a good cause along the way. So I was a pretty serious competitive debater when I was in high school and college. It was an activity that I believe did a lot for me. And for the last 15 years, I've been involved in one capacity or another with various urban debate leagues around the country. And these are organizations that help students primarily in kind of low income and or troubled high schools, urban public school districts with debate in various ways, largely through an after school debate program. Right now, the league I work with most actively is the Bay Area Urban Debate League. I've been a volunteer with them. I'm a donor myself. I'm a member of their board, and we are doing an end of the year fundraising campaign. For every $500 raised as part of this campaign, I'm going to be releasing a free half hour of poker strategy content. So this is the first video. As I mentioned, it's over an hour in length. And my only request is, if you haven't already, please make a contribution, whatever you can afford to give or would prefer to give, to the Bay Area Urban Debate League, ideally through this Razoo campaign, which if you just click this link here on your screen, it'll take you straight there, or you can go to razoo.com and search my name, which is spelled like this. If for some reason you find that easier than just clicking the link, make your donation. In addition to contributing towards unlocking more strategy videos like this one, you'll also be entered into a drawing where you can win cool stuff like a free month at Tournament Poker Edge or free coaching from people like myself and my podcast co-host Nate Mavis. So please do make that contribution if you haven't made one already, and enjoy the video. Okay, I'm joined here by Carlos Welch, the semi-homeless poker player. Are you back to full-on homelessness now?
No, still semi. I'm back home now, so I guess I'm even more semi than before. I'm in the hotel that I used to live in Atlanta, but that's just for a week, and then after that, I'll be back home with family.
Nice. So this is like in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You've just sort of stuck around the Georgia, North Carolina vicinity.
Yes, and I'll be headed back right after Christmas, maybe even right after the New Year, and I'll be headed back out west.
Nice. Well, for those who don't know, Carlos is homeless by choice, living out of some combination of a van and a couple of cheap hotels that he frequents. And yeah, just playing cards, streaming on Twitch, living the life.
Yep, loving it.
Okay, so we're reviewing today. This is a $10 tournament from Bovada.
Yes, which is called Ignition now.
Oh, okay. I haven't kept up with the intrigues of of online poker. So you late registered, and this is the first hand you got after late registering, or just the first hand that's worth looking at?
Yeah, this is. I'm skipping the hands I didn't play
Okay.
for the interest of time.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is the first hand I played.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Generally, I don't min raise. I would go a little bit bigger, but given that I have a hand I won't action with, and it's the first hand I played, I figured I'll cheat a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. Would you ever? I mean, I guess you have some hands you can just jam off of the stack, although queens probably wouldn't be one of them. I feel like if I had like pocket eights here, I might just ship it.
Yeah, and again, if it was a situation where I'd been at the table longer and I've been doing things like that before, I
Right.
probably would put queens in my jamming range, but I wouldn't jam like aces and possibly not kings, so I
Right.
definitely want queens in there to protect the range.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And without antes, you can't do as much jamming, or you have more interest in having like a raise folding range. Not that queens would be in it, but I just mean.
Yes, this one does have antes though.
Oh, it does. Okay.
So I think the ante is 25. So this site has 10% antes.
Okay.
And sometimes the pot size is wrong on this replayer, so we have to be vigilant of that
All right.
when it's relevant. Now, we have the whole cards hidden, but it will show at the end of the hand.
Okay. My one thought
So,
there, your flop bet size seems pretty large. Just, I mean, it's obviously not like huge compared to the size of the pot, but just like you're betting pretty close to a third of your stack. I feel like you look extremely strong here, like betting this flop into three people after raising under the gun, and you are in fact extremely strong, to the
yeah,
point where like I mean obviously you're not making better hands fold. You don't need to bet nearly this much to charge a price to like a bear ace of clubs or something. Um, I think I would be inclined to bet more like 750 here.
okay, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I think I'd want to do like if I had like aces without a club or with a club for that matter. I think I would also. I just don't think there's a lot of hands here where you really care about betting a lot. Like there's not a lot. Like so with your very strongest hands, you can get stacks in even without betting this large on the flop, and you have a lot of hands that are like interested in betting something but not interested in playing in like betting a huge amount. Um, yeah, I just and like likewise with your bluffs, I don't see a need to have like a bet size this large given how shallow the stack is and how the board is pretty static really. I mean I know there's like some cards that are kind of relevant, but like a 10 that's not a club like is only so relevant because there's so many better hands already possible. It doesn't have like a huge change to the board texture.
Right, right. Is there any would you do the same sizing if this was a heads up pot versus four way?
No, I think in a heads up pot, you're more likely to you sort of want to think about what are the kinds of hands where your opponent is actually going to face a decision. In a heads up pot, a hand like Jack 8 of spades might have a decision facing a bet, or 9 Jack of spades even. Whereas in a multi-way pot, I think those are going to be pretty trivial folds. To even a bet of 750 is not going to like give that much of a decision to those hands, and so I think like in a heads up pot you're a little more concerned about the price you're giving to your opponent because they're going to be more inclined to like peel with marginal type hands. In a four-way pot, I think when you get action here, it's mostly going to be from like flushes, straights, queen X, and good flush draws, and those kinds of hands. So like when you're bluffing, I think your opponent's going to fold anything less than that, and with stronger hands than that is like I just think their decisions are not going to be that price sensitive in multi-way pots, I guess. And because you're so shallow, you don't need to be concerned about like charging the maximum when you have strong hands because you're going to get all the money in anyway. So you can just sort of optimize with your bluffs and not worry about building a pot with your strong hands.
Gotcha. All right, so we'll take that one down. Next hand, King Jack. Just jam here.
Yeah. I actually think from better players like the small blind's cold call there is a little worrisome. Just because he's calling like more than 10% of the button stack. I feel like he should have a pretty strong hand to do that, but I'm guessing in a $10 tournament that's just not the case.
Yeah, and just to reiterate for the people watching, this is a 2K guarantee at like noon during the week, I think. So, like, these people probably really bad, and I probably have a lot of the exploitable stuff because of that. And this hand is a good example of.
Oh wow! So you're good, unimproved.
It's a good example of people being really bad in these tournaments.
I was wondering. I was like, you're going to bing something on the river, right? Nope. Didn't need
it.
It.
Also goes to show that this guy was far from super strong.
Yes.
What he calls that. So yeah, I love these tournaments. Like, it reminds me of a quote that Ike Haxton had in some piece of video I watched where he was trying to describe to his friends what poker is, and he said it's like Magic the Gathering, except you play for a lot more money and the other players aren't trying to win. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty. That's a good description. All right, here, um, just went for a steal with his hand, which I probably wouldn't normally do. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea here. And when I played this tournament, when I played the tournament, I had HUD stats, but
Yeah,
uh,
I could certainly see this, hinging on your HUD stats because just having seen the Queen 8 suited and the 5-2 suited calls from the previous hand, I'm not so excited about this. But obviously, this is a different player. But just against a random in this field, this doesn't strike me as a great idea.
right, yeah. So it could be HUD stats, but then I'm a little worried because I late reg this. I've only been here 13 hands, but maybe the guy's just like hasn't played a hand in 13 hands, and I decided to go for it. Uh,
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, for a stat like VPIP, you really don't need that big of a stat. I mean, you're not going to have like strong accuracy. Like obviously, his true VPIP isn't zero, but it's unlikely that his true VPIP is like 33% if you've played 13
right,
hands with him and he hasn't played any. Like you can get a pretty good idea for stuff like VPIP and preflop raise, where people get a chance to do it every single hand. You don't need that big of a sample size before it starts to be a meaningful number.
right. So check it down. This is probably a hand he should have been playing. So there's probably evidence that his stats were pretty tight.
Oh yeah, if he folded king 10 offsuit, that's craziness.
Yeah. So because I saw that, I'm just gonna keep hammering on him. All right. So this is more the sizing I would usually make it. Like I said earlier, I min raised the queen hand because it was my first one at the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would usually go somewhere between like 2.3, 2.5.
Mm. And I think if they're on the looser side, which they seem to be, there's all the more reason to just bump up the size of your raises because it maximizes their mistake
Right.
or amplifies their mistake.
Here, what did I think I didn't see bet this because this looks really strong to me.
Yeah, I agree. And this is a board that connects with a lot of hands. Not just King X and 9X, but like Queen Jack and Jack 10 probably aren't folding. 8-7 suited and 7-6 suited may not fold. Pocket pairs, I mean, maybe you get them off of like sevens, but yeah, I just don't think there's that much that's calling you pre-flop and then fold into a flop bet, unless it's just like, I mean, a lot of stuff that is folding is stuff you're ahead of anyway. So maybe you end up losing the pot because he bluffs with it, but also maybe not.
Yeah, like just to go back, this guy called a 2.5x raise. He's got 10 bigs, and
Right.
he's like, man's like I'm thinking, I don't know what this is, but I'm not putting another chip in his pot.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Then I hear that, then I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, just having seen like the Queen 8 suited and the 5-2
yeah,
suited. I mean, I guess you didn't have the 5-2 suited information, but I mean, I'd be kind of tempted to call just for that reason, and because he didn't jam the flop. Like, I think if he were doing something shady with like Ace King or Aces, there's a pretty good chance he bets the flop, even though he shouldn't. Like, I think if he's slow played this far, he might as well check the flop with those hands. Like, I think a lot of people don't really have the discipline to do that. So, I kind of think like either he has kings or queens, and that kind of explains why he checked the flop, or jacks, I guess. Like, there's a couple of like super strong hands he can have, but maybe he has queen 10, maybe he has jack 10 or 10-9, or yeah, I can imagine enough other hands that I would probably be inclined to call him. I don't know. You're more familiar with these guys than I am.
yeah, and I'm even thinking that the guy may does do this with Queen Jack, Jack 10, hearts for sure. So there's a lot of hands that we beat here. So I do like a call here. Um, Actually, I re-raised
Oh
it on him.
yeah, yeah. Putting him for his last 105. So he was not that strong pre-flop, but he did nail it on the flop.
Right. Um, but I'm thinking like I don't know if his intention is to like set mine. Like if he has sixes
Right,
flop, I don't think he's folding.
right.
I don't know what these guys are thinking, to be honest.
There probably wasn't that much of a plan.
Right, right. So now we got this hand. This hand I watched. This one's kind of weird. All right, so I just defended. Could shove here, but for some reason I decided not to. I think it plays okay both ways. Maybe.
Mhm.
All right,
Especially if they play really badly after the flop, like you might as well say flop.
right. And sometimes, like when I get these type of boards, especially when there's a flush draw on there, and I have some type of straight draw, I will I will use the flush cards as bluff outs.
Mhm.
So in this case, I decided to just check call here, which is a little weird, and I'm probably betting any diamond or any club on the turn, and maybe even like obviously a three, like even a six, I think.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of small cards I can bet on the turn here. Did get a club on the turn, so now I'm just going to try to get them off, I guess, like the Broadway hands. I guess I'm ahead of those anyway.
I mean, ace king and ace queen.
Yeah, yeah, which I think will be a pretty big part of his range here.
Yeah, he probably has 12 combos of this.
And regardless, I got so much equity here. I'm obviously going with this hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is
He
one of
just
those cases where like shoving doesn't actually maximize your fold equity because it's gonna look more like a draw if you shove than if you just
yeah.
bet.
My 2+2 article this month was about that concept.
Oh, I know that's why I mentioned
Oh,
it.
pretty cool. Uh, so yeah, I agree 100%. Like shoving here, I think kind of A looks like a draw, and B caps my range. Where if I was like if I had jacks, I probably would just bet small. I
You would have
would
done a
have
lot of
jacks.
things differently with jacks.
Right, right. Um, but yeah, maybe that's uh, like there's some value hands maybe
Seven
that's,
five suited is a hand I could
yeah,
see you playing this way.
yeah, that I wouldn't shove in this spot.
Mhm.
But he calls, and I think him just calling here maybe somewhat limiting. Like I don't think he would just call if he had a set of jacks or something.
Or yeah, or even like a strong pair. I mean, I don't think queen jack. I think queen jack just shoves the turn
Yeah,
because there's so many draws you can be on. Like he doesn't want to face a decision on river. So yeah, I think he's looking for a river card often when he just calls the turn, and it's doubtful the card he was looking for was the eight of spades.
right. So I put it in.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
He folds.
And that's the
Uh,
other advantage of not just riffing it on the turn is you give yourself an opportunity to outplay him on the river, versus if you just jam the turn and he calls. Like well, I guess you would have been ahead if he called with exactly that hand, but
right.
you would have chopped
It's
it
also
actually. So you're happy to have him out.
yeah. It's fortunate that the diamond I was planning to rep didn't come in. All right, so we take that one down. Next hand we play a couple hands later. Open, just get that one through. Slide this over. So yeah, this starts out pretty shallow. Oh, okay, this is it. I was gonna say it starts out pretty shallow, but I get some chips at some point, and I'm just shoving over this.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's really hard for them to balance a limp calling range. Like most of the hands that would want a limp call, you generally prefer to just shove.
yeah, and something I've been doing that seems to work on the site is I'll raise to an amount that puts the chips behind all in. So technically they're all in, but it just forces them to like they can't just click a button. They gotta like slide it over a bit. It kind of gives them another second to think twice.
I love that.
Yeah, but it tends to work sometimes. This time the guy, I guess he was trapping.
That's the thing. Like that's the sort of hand where he'd be better off jamming than limp calling. But I mean, some of these guys, I guess, just don't know that. But
Yeah, yeah, I would always just jam this hand if I was in.
And the thing is, like, even though he kind of induced, like, so it's, I mean, that's kind of not true if you're going to just jam any two because he limped, then, like, maybe he is better off limp calling ace four. But most people, I think, will look at it as, like, they're not necessarily expecting that you're going to shove any two after they complete.
Right, and I'm definitely shoving like middling cards, not the bottom.
Yes, any two might be a push, but, 70%.
Exactly. All right, so we get couple of chips now, so probably gonna start opening it up against it. And this guy again is the guy. He was either really tight or sitting out because he was like super tight. So I was almost just pretending like he wasn't here.
Yeah, like you got two buttons.
Mm-hmm. So just opening this, just going for a steal. Don't think this is a great flop for me, so I think I just give up on this.
I wouldn't quite call it giving up. I mean, I think you have the best hand very often, which is part of the reason to not bluff. Is like you don't need to bluff.
Right. And I think I can get check jammed on a lot on these type of drawing board.
Yeah, you don't want to bet fold to 10 jack.
Right. So I check it back, and I think I just fold this. I mean, I can see an argument for calling, and I probably would with a big raise, but I think I just fold here.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard for him to have something. Like he doesn't have a lot of threes in his pre-flop range. Two of the sevens are on the board. The main argument against calling, I think, is just based on the fact that most of these opponents are probably like way too passive. It's kind of like the they always have it principle.
Yeah.
From my tweeting, which is probably a little less true online than it is live, especially in like a $10 tournament. I mean, I think this is. I would probably call the turn. Like I can understand why you don't, especially since there's still another bet behind. But yeah, I would. I mean, so you would call if the turn were like a 6 or a 10, right?
Yes.
And I mean, certainly the ability to improve to a straight like makes that a better call. But I mean, like you're ahead of spades, you're ahead of 10 jack, you're ahead of 10-8, you're ahead of 5-6 or 5-4. Or I mean, there's a lot of hands out there where he can have some coordination with the board and bet. Not to mention, like he doesn't have to have coordination with the board. Like he could just have king 10 of clubs and think you don't have anything and bet. But like even if he's only betting when he has coordination with the board, you still beat a lot of those hands.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it does lead to an awkward river situation.
Yeah, I can see this being probably a good call on the turn. I was gonna add something to your comment about they always have it. Like the games I play, it's like they fall in one. They either always have it or they never have it. Like there's very few in the middle, and so once you can figure out which extreme they fall on, you can almost play perfectly against it.
Oh, yeah, so he was bluffing with better.
Yeah. This isn't a hand I would put in his flattening range pre-flop off of 25 bigs.
Yeah, it's funny too because I almost said when you made the comment about like I might call with a bigger ace, I kind of had the thought I was like I don't think your size of your ace matters that much, but I guess it does.
Yeah. I don't understand these people. All right, so pick up aces. Get it through. Again, okay, so this is kind of what I was saying earlier. I think this guy.
Yeah, he must just be sitting out for you to jam 9-8 off.
Yeah, and again, I'm doing the little trick versus that guy's stack size.
Yeah, because I would think if it were just that the small blind were really nitty, you'd prefer to raise fold.
Right.
Make it like 1,500 or some amount that like commits you against the big blind, and then fold if the small blind shows.
Right. And I think I found evidence of, because I kind of went through a couple of these hands later. I mean, a second ago, I found evidence that dude was sitting out. Maybe, okay, yeah, he's definitely sitting out.
Yeah, because you're just min-raising him.
Yeah, there's no way I would do that.
It's pretty handy that the button is either like not aware of that or not doing anything about it and just sort of like letting you have all these walks.
Right. Hmm. Don't know why I went this big. Like, just looking at it, I think I would normally go like maybe 14 here.
Yeah.
If this guy was deeper, I would go 2.5. But I don't know why I went this big this time.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Yeah,
Not that it's a big
this
difference.
is
Yeah, pretty likely he's sitting up.
yeah. I got limps. I get in there. Okay, so when these guys don't have a lot of chips and I'm in a small blind, I like just getting in there so I can. Yeah, he's sitting out.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
you're getting a great price. It's gonna be what 6 to 1 or close to that. You're getting to play a heads up pot against the guy who doesn't have aces. Like,
right. Doesn't have aces and probably doesn't even have an ace.
right?
So I think this is good.
Yeah, I mean like there's a real chance you have the best hand.
Yeah, but yeah, I think he doesn't have an ace there very often.
Hmm.
And so he just limps, folds to that. I mean, he should probably know that I don't have an ace either, but
But he's not thinking like that.
right. And maybe I wasn't. I think I've only recently started adjusting my open sizes even less than 2.5. So yeah, a lot of these spots I feel like I'm going slightly too big, but in this environment, I think slightly too big is probably better than slightly too small.
Yeah.
So we call a shove. All right, so yeah, all this pre-flop stuff, I think we can just kind of blaze through.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so like I'll just kind of go crazy with hands like this until I feel like somebody's fighting back, but I don't treat these first three bets as any evidence of that because usually they just have it.
Right.
Like nobody's like very few people are three betting light, and the ones that do, it's like they do it so often that it's obvious.
Right. And I was going to say too, it's important to remember there that you're effectively the cutoff because of that player sitting behind you. So
Yeah,
it's not you're not really opening king eight from the hijack. You're doing it from the cutoff.
right, right.
Yeah, no, that's a check folding flop.
Yeah,
That's a good example of him just like I mean not that I would have check folded that flop anyway, but if you notice his bet sizing there, I mean that's just like I guarantee you he has a hand when he does that. There's just like he's just not going to do that much with a bluff. Um, and
right.
yeah, it's just a needlessly large bet size. It's kind of the same way I felt when you bet the queens on the queen 9-8 or whatever it was.
Right. Agreed. So this guy limped and I've raised and I purposely didn't raise too big because I want him to call with his limping hands. Like I think I dominate a lot of the hands he would limp in with.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I had like sevens here, I would probably just shove.
Yeah, yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
But I think yeah, you're not going to get him off of ace queen or ace king, so you might as well encourage him to come in with jack 10. Even though I mean this is bad flop for jack 10, but
Right. Like I'm shocked he didn't call with this. Most people would
right,
in the tournaments I play.
it's exactly the kind
But
of hand you're trying to drag him in with.
right, which is perfect because I can make a smaller raise sizing with this hand when I want him to call with that. And when I have jacks and I want him to fold, I can basically play perfect by shoving those hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not jacks, sevens.
Yeah, so jacks is a little strong.
Yeah.
And that poor bastard on your left folding aces again.
Did he have aces again? Oh
Yeah.
my God. He must have had a bad connection or something. So he's just blinding out in a tournament that he had a chance to win. Um, yeah, so just going value here. And yeah, I think generally this is a little bit different because stacks are a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
But I go half pot probably too much, but I do it often.
Mhm.
Can't stop. I think I'm lazy. But at the same time, they just pay it off. So why not go bigger than you normally would? And then on this river, I purposely just click half pot again instead of shoving. I don't know if it matters that much, but um, some people will like fold some hands maybe to the shove.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you're not risking very much if it increases his calling frequency by like 10%, you break even. So
Right. So we get
nice river value bet.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know what these people are thinking. Yeah, you hear me say that frequently. Yeah, see. All right, but I do like that I'm keeping it consistent.
Mm.
Um, so we get three bet here.
Yeah, I was thinking to Scott with your stack sizes. The only reason I
Yeah,
wouldn't is if you think it's like he's one of those people who just always have it when they three bet and he's never gonna fold, any hand that he three bet. And I guess you can just kind of exploitively four bet even though it looks absurdly strong.
right. I think it's kind of a free roll. Like if he's got a big hand, I guess it would be more of a free roll if I had aces. But I guess what I'm saying is if he has a big hand, we're gonna pretty easily get it in anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
if he's bluffing, I want to let him keep bluffing.
Right.
Um, Third on this, I'm not believing it right away. If he bet bigger, maybe, but I don't know. Third pot, I think I like floating once because he still has bluffs. He still has like queens and tens and
Yeah.
okay.
Nice.
All right. So now we're getting some stacked up with me and a few other players. All right, so they got three bet me with nines. Need to kind of keep that in mind. Like some people with just flat nines there.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he three bets calls if I.
I was wondering that too. Like, are those nines folding to a four bet?
Yeah. Again, like these guys do this, I'm just stabbing here a lot, and that works a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he limped the ace queen, and
And then just gave up.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. This is the type of board where he probably should continue with ace queen. Like it was like,
Yeah. No, probably about it. That's
yeah,
it's a very strong hand.
yeah. It's like I generally attack these small boards with small cards, but when there's a pair board, it's a little different.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, in his defense, a lot of people in this tournament probably will have it when they bet there. Like you might be the exception who's going to bet there with nothing.
Right, right. And see, what I love about these spots is if this doesn't work, it just means nothing to my stack. But it's a big percentage of his stack, so he kind of has to have something to defend against this.
Apparently.
Yeah. This is called. Why did I do this? I have no idea why I did this. This is one big blunt. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
it certainly seems like it should be a raise.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Yeah, that was a mistake. Well, yeah, and this is something else I noticed. Like these guys start three betting light when they have no fold equity. Like
Yeah,
earlier,
they just like take the first pretty hand they see and go with it.
yeah, like I guarantee if this guy had like 20 bigs, he would just call with it.
Right.
Okay, so I'll just complete here. Yeah.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Oh wow, he managed to have a worse hand.
Yeah. And I probably we're not watching all the hands, so there's a chance I know this in a couple of hands here, but um the people who are capable of doing this stuff, like they're few and far between. So if I find out that he's capable of that, then I'll probably play differently against him.
Yeah.
I'm doing against most people in the field. All right, so this is a good. No, that guy's got me covered. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Yeah. All right, I was gonna say this is a good example of the spot that I was saying earlier, where these middling pairs, I can shove here and get this guy to fold like Jack 10 suited, but he'll call with eights.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little bit different because the guy behind me has me covered. But I mean, it's a strong hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
I guess it kind of
if this
depends on how
guy,
nitty that guy is.
yeah, like if this guy had like 30 to like 35 bigs, I would do this every time.
Right.
But because he was so deep against him, but I don't know. Like I don't think because we're so deep with him, I wouldn't do it with sevens. Where I would do it with sevens if he had 30 bigs.
Yeah, nines
But
is like, I don't know that you want to fold it if he cold shoves anyway.
yeah, see that's what I'm thinking. Nines is almost like good enough to get in for like we're just under 40 bigs, like
Mhm.
37 or something. Yeah. All right. Let's see. All right. So okay. So right now I'm just probably bluff catching turning river.
Yeah, and this is actually one where I might actually bet the flop for value. Um, and it doesn't have to be a large bet, but I pretty commonly will bet like 25 to 30% pot in this spot, and expect that he's going to fold some hands that have 25% equity, which is great,
Right.
and also that he's going to call with a range that I'm ahead of. It's very difficult for you to be beat here. And so it's sort of like he doesn't have good options when you bet 30% of the pot. Like either he folds away a lot of equity or he calls and you're ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't do a good job of picking smaller or larger bet sizes on the flop, um, where I should.
I mean, I think the main thing that's relevant about that flop, I mean, that flop texture is a particularly dramatic example of it. But you have a big range advantage even as a late position raiser versus a big blind caller, because you're, for one thing, you still have like top end hands like aces in your range that he would have three bet, and he has a bunch of really weak hands in his range that he can call with from the big blind because of the odds he's getting that you're not going to have. Which, I mean, it means he has a three like, a little more often than you do, but that's not that relevant compared to the fact that you have like aces and kings and queens and jacks and ace king and ace queen, like all those really strong hands that he doesn't have. So a flop texture like this that doesn't really do anything to change the pre-flop hand equities, so like if the flop is 10-8-7, that really like that can make a big shift in terms of like who had equity pre-flop versus on the flop. But a flop like this, hand equities are still basically what they were pre-flop. And so if you had a big pre-flop advantage, you still have a big advantage on this flop. And betting small kind of enables you to leverage that. And even facing a small bet, he still has a bunch of hands that are so weak that it's hard for them to continue, even though they do have a fair bit of equity. So I guess the thing to look for is these kind of really dry flops where your pre-flop range advantage is still strong.
Right. If you bet like 25% pot and he raises, what do you do?
I call. I mean, it is so like I'm going to be betting that same bet size with probably my entire pre-flop opening range. So I do think ace jack is like pretty close to the top of it. I'm not. I mean, a check raise is not what I'm hoping for. I do think that the value of calling that check raise is not hugely greater than zero. I do think it's varies between like slightly greater than zero at equilibrium, and like if he is just going crazy with bluffing, which some people will, then it's much greater than zero. Um,
Yeah, I
but
think
yeah.
at this bet size, like the check, it would be a shove. So like if we bet like 25 to 30% of the pot,
Mm.
he's probably just gonna shove, and I think I would still call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this will be something where if I had to read this was an aggressive guy, I would play it. I would take the line I took every time, expecting him to just barrel it off on later streets.
Right.
Most people here aren't aggressive, so I think the smaller bet is probably a good line to take for value.
Right.
Um,
That's against a player who's not going to bluff that often on the turn. You're just kind of letting him free roll to bink whatever his 6 outs are.
All right, so once I see these showdowns, now I would play differently against this guy. Like, if I give him every opportunity to bluff, he doesn't take it. So he's going to be in the, always has it category when he bets.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really important thing. Sometimes people will complain like, I don't have a lot of hands on my opponent, so I don't know how he plays. And like you said, just seeing a single hand with a showdown can really tell you a lot about. I mean, we don't know for certain that that's how he plays, but it gives us a pretty strong idea of a first adaptation to make against him going forwards.
Right.
And in tournaments, you have to do that. Like if you play cash, you might run into the same people hundreds or thousands of hands, but in a tournament, you don't. Or I guess on a site like Ignition with anonymous players, you have to be able to make tentative reads quickly based on little bits of information like this.
Right, and because of that, I think seeing showdowns is so important that in some spots like this one, like I can easily value bet this river, but I'm probably not going to get called, and I almost would rather see his hand than bet and allow him to fold that, because I'll pick up so much information in spots like this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
All right, so he hasn't had any hands, but I would have thought this guy would be playing back at us a little bit more than he has, but maybe he's just getting like the bottom 5% of the deck every time. Now, I don't know why I don't see bet this one.
No, I like checking that, especially against a small blind call. This is the kind of thing where like either he started with a strong hand pre-flop or this flop improves him. Like it's kind of hard for him to not have anything on this flop.
Yeah, for some reason I was thinking big blind. I think I would like to see bet against the big blind, but yeah.
I don't know. Even then, like this, it's just like it's really hard to not have at least a gut shot on this flop.
True.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's gonna have stronger range from the small blind. So yeah, I think I like it.
Yeah, and that's the one sort of hand he could have. Like, it really has to be like King Queen exactly, or maybe like Ace 10. Like there's a few hands that are like unimproved Broadway hands he could have that might fold to a flop bet, but I think he can obviously just as easily have King Jack or Queen Jack.
Right, and I still like to fold unless I have some type of plan of like bluffing in some river spots, like maybe like bluff raising. Even if I call this turn, I'm gonna lose this river a lot. So
yeah, your equity is just pretty poor. Like he probably will bluff a lot of rightfully scary cards too. Like if the river is a club, he's probably gonna fire and you're gonna fold. It's just you don't really have visibility. Like you have no idea what are bad river cards for you because his range contains so many different types of hands.
Right. Man, I don't know if I've ever heard that term before. Visibility.
I don't know where I picked that up, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
But it's not original to me.
Oh. Alright, so opening the flat, just gonna call here. We don't need to see that. Let's see, since we're this far into it. It doesn't matter. So
That sucks, but what are you gonna do?
yeah, and again, it's like this is
Yeah, he had to have a hand to do it.
right. Like I don't know if he does the same thing with like 7-6 suited or something.
Right.
All right, so I go for the 3-bet bluff. Get it through.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good hand for that.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite hand to do it with because it sucks for everything else. It's like I hate this hand so much.
Yeah.
But it's good for a 3-bet bluff. All right. Oh, Okay, so he doesn't have much here. I'm thinking he's just never going to put me on the ace when I do this. But I
Yeah,
don't.
that's fair. The problem is like, what can he do about it? Like, if he
Yeah,
has 10-8 of diamonds, like he can not believe you, and he still can't call.
yeah. Um, would this be a better spot for like a small bet or a check back?
I would do the small bet, and it's another one of those like I would probably just do the small bet with my full range. It's another board that doesn't really change preflop hand equities that much, and in particular, it's a board where any hand that's behind is way behind and quite possibly drawing dead. So, you know, even if he's getting good odds, the fact that you have a lot of ace X in your range, like he can know that you're bluffing at a high frequency, and it's still hard for him to call you with a hand like Queen Nine of Clubs.
Right.
Just because, like, when he is behind, he's drawing almost dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, good example. Like Jack 10 offsuit, he's going to fold even for a much smaller bet.
True.
Not that you want him to fold when you have ace 9, but you do
Yeah.
when you have 5 6 or something.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm trying to get called by king high when I do that, but I don't think that's even.
Yeah.
That's not happening on this site. And it's like one, like that's such a small part of the range.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's like I guess I never think about like a 25% C bet as an option. So when that's not an option, I'm not sure. Like I don't like a half pot bet there. I think that's probably the worst thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, checking back could be an option.
Yeah,
I even
I think checking is very viable. And in fact, against weaker players, it might even be better. I mean, the third pot thing is like a little easier to balance because the thing is, against better players, like once you check back the flop, as soon as you put a penny into the pot afterwards, it's extremely suspicious.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so this guy, uh, he's just got chips. So he's not doing anything to stop me from getting out of line,
Nice.
and I must know that for me to be hammering on him with hands like this.
It's not that bad.
I know if I got this many chips, I'm not letting anybody get away.
I don't know. I mean, if I'm in his shoes with the Jack 3 offsuit, I'm folding it to your raise. Well, the other
Yeah,
one was like King 7. That one's I would probably call, but that one is close. But the Jack 3, I think he has to fold.
right,
I think you're being hard on the poor guy. He just hasn't had cards.
right. I'm just getting away with a lot right now, and I'm not even looking at the hands they're folding. But
I've been trying
which,
to keep high for anything really surprising.
I mean, my frequency is through the roof. So if anybody was gonna fight back, they got enough reason to by now. It's just not.
That's the thing, and this is the point I try to make to people a lot, is your image just doesn't matter that much. It matters a little bit at the margins. Sometimes if people have a hand like King 10 or something, like whether or not they play it might have something to do with what they think of you as a player. But even in live poker where they're paying more attention, most people still are just like, they can think you're full of it and they're not going to do anything when they have 10-7 offsuit, and they can think you're the nittiest player in the world and they're not going to fold ace jack. So it's just, it only matters so much what your image is, and a lot of people just have this idea of like, I haven't played a hand in an hour, so now I can just raise under the gun with 10-7 suited, and that's not the way it works.
Right. I just realized that we're on a bubble here, which is why this is working so often. I do know that the final table started at 220, so this probably only paid 18, and we may be close to the money bubble.
Okay.
And that would make more sense. Yeah, because they're folding some decent hands to me. And I'm not too out of line. I mean, I'm open
No,
to
I don't think you've done
still,
anything I wouldn't do on a non-bubble situation.
yeah. Um,
Oh no, that's a flop bet.
I think I'm a little worried. I shouldn't be, but I am worried being on the bubble against a guy with a bigger stack.
I mean, and I'm not saying it's an all-in bet.
Yeah.
You got a gut shot, you got a flush draw, you have a live cards against a 5 or a 4. You only have 8 high, so even if he just folds like 10 or jack high, that's a victory for you. That's like a
Yeah,
perfect flop betting hand.
I agree. I think this is me projecting because, like, if roles are reverse, I'm probably check raising this board a lot, and I don't want to get check raised here. Um, but maybe a lot of hands I would check raise with, I would probably just lead or
That's the
raise.
thing. It's kind of hard for them to have check raise bluffs because, like, so one of my principles of how bad players bluff is that many of them don't do it that much. Period. But when they do it, they keep it simple, stupid. They don't want an expensive, complicated bluff. So rather than check raising the river, they'll bet.
Right, right. Yeah, I just thought he was okay. Now I do it like
I'm
this.
glad you
This
found a
is
bluff on the river. Because again, like he still has hands like Jack and 10 high that they aren't going to call a river bet, but that you beat, or sorry, but that you want to fold. So yeah, this is why it's so important to bluff when you have like the bottom of your range on the river.
right. Somehow it works.
Yeah, there you go.
Like how does
He
he?
would have won that pot.
Yeah, I mean, if he bets at any, well, I'll probably call a flop bet. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah,
It
like
should.
he has basically the same hand you do, and he should be betting for the same reasons you should be.
Right,
But you at least found a bluff on the river, so you still won.
right. Okay, so this is probably like Queens plus.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was like King 10 of clubs. I think would be a call for me against better players. But yeah, if you think they're being nitty on the bubble, then it's not.
let's see. Um, yeah, I think that's probably why because it's the bubble. Yeah, I'm thinking I expect him to be like stronger than normal here, and in fact, he was weaker than normal.
Mm.
So, but this is just like some out of nowhere suicide play that like he probably folded better hands to me earlier.
Right.
Like I wouldn't expect that at all. But just one little aberration. Like I'm not. Like I benefited from his tightness before this. That I can let him have one.
Mm.
But yeah, I definitely didn't think King 10 was in good shape against his range for doing that on the bubble.
Right.
Um, this actually, okay, we must be in the money because I know the final table starts at 220. So maybe
So
he
that's
was
why I
tight.
found the stones to shove once he was in the money.
Right. And on ignition, it's even more important to do that because um, 18 through 10 all paid the same.
Right.
Yeah, so you can kind of gamble it up more to kind of get a final table stack. And if that's the case, if we are in the money now, then I should be adjusting my range. So like I'm probably raised calling with this. I mean, obviously with sevens, but I'm probably not opening hands that I would raise fold as often as I was before.
Mm.
Hmm.
I can
I
understand
think
not wanting to raise fold this.
yeah, I think I expect to get rate to three bet often now, and I think that's why I limped it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's interesting. Gotta bet that though.
I would bet the flop, like based on the fact that nobody raised you pre-flop. I think there's a pretty decent chance they don't have an ace. Plus, you have a gutter.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't bet this. Such an easy bet. No, it's just okay. Who cares? It don't matter.
Yep, no aces.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
you
think
probably
if
get called by king four, but
yeah, he may if I bet flop, I'm probably betting turn, so he may fold the turn, but I don't know. All right, I do like the limp pre,
yeah, I like that too.
but I definitely think I need to bet the flop. Okay, I would have. That's too many people in the pot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I would consider leading here, but not into this many people, and they all got chips.
Yeah, at the very least, wait until the turn because most people are going to bet if they have a hand on the flop. So you can essentially find out for free. Like, people aren't going to
Yeah,
bluff the flop. I mean, they'll bet like maybe queen nine or something, but they're not going to like just bluff. So, but they're also not very likely to slow play. So you can kind of find out for free. You can greatly increase the likelihood that your bluff is going to work by waiting until the turn to do it and getting that information, whether or not people like their hands.
right.
And of course, I mean, the risk you're taking is primarily that the turn card improves somebody.
So the bubble broke. So this is not the bubble. This is the final table now, and I'll just click through these hands I folded at the final table.
I like that from under the gun.
Yeah, I'm not the big stack anymore, so I can't bully. Let's see what happens here.
Not a lot you can do about that.
Same. Yeah. Whenever I'm reviewing hands and I see like a big gap where I folded a lot, I want to make sure I'm not being too nitty.
Mm.
And doesn't seem that way. I don't know about this. I mean, I guess you just fold this.
Yeah, it is too many people. I mean, even if you believe that the hijack doesn't have much, you still got three people behind you. I mean, queen six suited is not really a hand I would open from the cutoff anyway.
Right.
So, like, the fact that a player put money in the pot from the hijack shouldn't make you more likely to do it.
Well, let me ask you this: had this player folded, and given the fact that we're on the final table, the short stack is here, and we have all these guys covered.
Oh, yeah, that's no. I guess it would be worth opening uh, in this
Yeah,
spot.
but because this guy has us covered, I like the fold here.
Yeah, and you'd have to risk a lot more if you wanted to raise. Like, you'd have to raise to like 12K instead of
Well,
you could do it for like 7,000 otherwise.
right. Alright, so I played this one, obviously. And I just call here because people on this side are bad enough to
Oh, maybe he'll fold.
like ace 10. Like they probably wouldn't even come over the top. They would just like
They'll
if
just call
somebody
it.
had like king 10 suited,
Yeah,
they would
let's see if I hit the flop.
yeah, they would say
Yeah.
flop. All right. Well, that guy proved me wrong, but there's a lot of people in his shoe. Well, maybe not this one. Like if this is suited for sure, he would call.
Right.
All right, so we get a double. Are we chip leader now? Yes. Oh, that guy's got a lot. But,
I think I would raise that. I know it's a little suspicious the guy's limping under the gun, but I mean, you can raise fold. The problem with limping is if other people limp behind, you end up playing like a 5 or 6 way limped pot, and ace jack offsuit really prefers being heads up to being multi-way.
right.
Like, if under the gun limp calls, I think you're in fine shape. If he limp raises, then you're smoked and you can fold.
Right.
You don't really lose that much by folding to his limp raise. Like, so I would limp behind like a 10-9 suited, where I don't mind playing a multi-way pot, and I do lose a lot by folding to a limp raise.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, I hope I don't lose a big pot here.
He's sizing to make it difficult. I guess I would call again. Your hand, I mean, I kind of feel like you shouldn't have this hand in this spot. So
Yeah.
now that you do, I kind of feel compelled to call with it.
Yeah.
Like,
I hope I
it's a pretty
don't.
good spot for him to bluff because you're rarely going to have a hand like this.
Yeah. I hope I don't call river.
Yeah, no, I would fold.
It's fold.
I mean, and again, I like it. I do think it's probably pretty exploitable. I just think these people probably aren't generally good enough to do that.
Ah. He got that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shouldn't. Okay, I think I made a tweet about this hand. I think I said something about got river in a hand I shouldn't have been in the first
Oh
place.
yeah. I think there were two hands like that,
Yeah, I
if
think
I
there's
remember
another coming
correctly.
up.
Yeah. Okay.
You did this tournament or a different tournament?
This is funny. I had no idea that was the tournament we were going to look at, but I do remember being curious about that when I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, so I think I ended that tweet with 90% equity on the turn to 0 on the river,
Right.
but it's still a punt. Like people don't use that word in this form, But like this is just a punt to me. Like I've given away the tournament basically. Like calling that river bet was really bad, and like the pre-flop limp was like a small mistake that just compounded into like a bigger mistake. So
Right. And I mean, this is a good example of why you don't want to limp this kind of hand. Because even when you smack the flop, it's like hard for you to put a lot of money in good. We're even on the turn, we're like a little dicey about it. And as we can see from him, like, because I think it kind of makes sense to call down against like a player who's capable of an optimal bluffing strategy, because I do think it's a pretty good spot for him to bluff, especially since you shouldn't really have hands like this one. But clearly he did have, like, even when he was bluffing, he had the flush draw on the flop, flush draw and gutter on the turn. It's not like he was just betting with nothing. Like, I don't think this hand suggests he's going to have a high bluffing frequency in this situation. It's just that he happened to have like the one hand that even a passive player will bluff with.
right, and I don't beat any of his, a very few of his value hands. Like
But by the river, you don't beat any of them. Like, he's not going to have ace 10 here.
right, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, on the turn, there's still a chance he has a worse ace, which is part of why I like calling the turn.
Yeah. That was a big mistake. And see, the thing about it, man, it kind of changed my options. When I have this stack, I can do a lot against
Right,
it.
you can't really raise fold anymore with your 16
Now I'm
bigs.
struggling to survive like everybody else. This was such a punt.
Sorry to make you relive it.
Yeah, that's good. What did I do here?
I guess you can raise fold. Yeah, I mean, I guess if these people are not going to, are just going to be like way too tight, which there's a fair chance they are.
Yeah. If this is like not like a top, well, I guess like if this is like 10-8 off, then I hate this open. Like I'm assuming like these guys are. He's only calling here with like Queen Jack suited or something, but. If that's not the case, then okay. Well, forget all that. All right. Do you like checking back the flop? Because I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think checking back the flop is like very straightforward. This is like the easiest. There's a lot of hands I might consider checking back on the flop, but this is like the kind of most obvious one.
Right.
If you told me there's like only one kind of hand I'm allowed to check back on the flop, it would be a queen with a back kicker.
And I check the turn as well. That's probably bad.
It's close, but fine.
Okay.
It's a lot close. Like the flop, I think, is a clear check. The turn is close.
Oh, okay. This was the other hand. Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Yes, I think calling is fine, but you don't want to be jamming.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell I was doing here. Like, I think I have to call for sure, and I'm calling like almost happily, but this
Yeah,
shove.
but a lot of the
shove
value on the
is-
call is catching bluffs, not so much like that you're ahead of his value range.
I mean, he's got 9-6, 7-6.
Yeah, he has some worse hands, but
Maybe even like ace deuce, but I don't know. The raise is definitely bad though.
yeah, it's just they always have it.
Yeah, yeah. And again, this kind of goes. Oh, so I said in the tweet it happened twice, and now this is when I was like, okay, I punted it away. Like now I'm the short stack with no chips. Like I was probably pissed off at myself pretty bad right here.
Mhm.
And maybe because I was upset about the ace jack hand, maybe that kind
Right.
of
You're like tilting a little.
trying to get back to where I was.
Mhm.
Like it's just bad. But from that point, okay, I guess I'm trying to be a little tricky here.
Yeah, I like that if they're not paying attention to realize that you're all in.
Right.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. All right, so we got lucky there. This is a call, right?
I would call in a vacuum. I mean, maybe some of these, like, if you have reason to believe that, like, the player base in this field is really nitty at final tables, I mean, it's a pretty reasonable fold, but
Any reason to call as opposed to shoving?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, you can do the David Sklansky, like, give him a chance to make a mistake on the next street thing, but, I mean, I don't think it's very likely that he folds to a flop shove, but you could just call and jam flop, and, maybe he loses his internet connection between the time when while they're doing the flop.
Yeah. Every little bit helps.
Right. I would still shove. I mean, you still want him to fold. Like, even if he has, like, king 8, like, you still want him to fold that. I mean, he's probably not going to, but...
I guess my thinking was he's not folding any of the hands I want him to fold, but he could have, like, 5-4 hearts that he will bet with here.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So we got lucky again, back in the game.
I would have laughed really hard if you had 5-4 of hearts and weren't run a runner to beat you.
Oh yeah, oh my god, that would have been brutal. He limps the button.
Yeah. Got to see the flop with that Jack 5 suited.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a pretty wide shoving range here, so I'll just use this to kind of keep it protected.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I would say is I do think there are some hands that you can raise call against the small blind and maybe raise fold against the big blind. I mean, this hand I would call a big blind shove, but I could imagine you wanting to have a range of hands that like raise calls and raise folds depending on who shoves.
Right, and I think there's definitely some hands that, like ace queen suited, ace king suited, or something like that I would just open, but there is definitely a decent amount of hands I'm just shoving.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is, like, these guys aren't generally as aggressive as most people, so I can't be like inducing shoves from like ace 5 here.
Right.
Like, I think if the guy has ace 5 and I open, he's just gonna call with it, which is not the end of the world either. But
yeah, but it's hard to like get value from it after the flop.
yeah, I rather generally the way I kind of do it is I'll shove these unsuited hands, and the suited ones I'll be a little bit more willing to go post flop with.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's shorter. I think I just shove here.
Yeah, you can probably shove any two, or maybe raise fold.
Maybe he's tight enough where I like raise folding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
He's tight enough. Again, this guy has nothing. I got these guys covered, so I'm just gonna go after him. If this is a bluff, I'm gonna be super impressed. I don't think so. I think this is just like aces. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's kind of face up. That guy got chips now. These guys are short. Just shove here. Like, these two.
Yeah, you can't raise fold this.
Yeah, this guy has no chips. I think these guys are going to call tighter because of that.
Mm-hmm. Like,
it's probably a plus if you shove at a vacuum, but this even makes it even better, I think. All right. So this is just a... Ooh. Yeah, I feel like I probably did something stupid in there.
Yeah, I would just complete. I think you just don't have fold equity to shove free.
Yeah, I think I did complete and then probably bluff the flop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
I can't believe that works so often.
Wow, I can't believe you folded a gutter and a backdoor flush draw. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of hand you shouldn't fold because you could be doing some silliness like this.
Yeah.
But again, like, you probably are the exception in terms of doing this.
Right. And he's got all the chips, so he can. I mean, if nothing else, he can just float me to see if I'm willing to go with it on the turn. Like, he doesn't have to like raise, get it in with this. Although that wouldn't be horrible either.
Hey, I hate to do this, but I actually have to be somewhere at 3:30. Could we maybe finish this off another time?
Yes. All right. So I'll
Sorry
make
about
a note.
I was thinking we could finish it up, and then I just saw how many hands we still have to go. I was like, I think I'm cutting it too close.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We can just pause it until next time.
All right, thanks. Sorry, I appreciate you doing this. I think it's been fun.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, take
Okay.
care.